Welcome, my beautiful people, to this weekend review. I'm going to get right into questions. Question comes from SVP 374, and the question is, Fernando, do you have any tips on finding gems, or how's the best way we can negotiate with Airbnb hosts for cheaper rentals? Okay, so I actually did a video on this before, and here's my recommendation as it relates to finding gems and cheaper deals on Airbnb. The first thing that I highly recommend is don't book on Airbnb. You're going to pay more when you book on Airbnb. In addition, I would avoid anyone that has the superhost status. When a short-term rental has that status on there, you're almost guaranteed to pay more just because they have the superhost status. Now, a property that is proven, in my opinion, is better than a property that has a superhost status. It doesn't take much for a new property to get that superhost status, but it's very difficult to keep that superhost status. So I much rather you look at the reviews, how many reviews they have, and how long that property's been on the platform to determine if that's a good property or not. So, but going back to finding gems, right? Airbnb sometimes will put on there, it's a gem or this property is discounted, etc. So you can actually see what they have. But in order to find a property that is a true gem, like I just mentioned, you need to look at the reviews and read the reviews, read all the reviews, because oftentimes you're going to get one or two, maybe three or four dissatisfied customers, but that dissatisfaction oftentimes has nothing to do with the property. So make sure you read it, read everything in its entirety. And then again, if you want to get discounts, then number one, don't look for that superhost status. Or if you find a property you really like and has that superhost status, then the next step will be trying to reach out to that host outside of the Airbnb platform. So for example, with us, if you book on our website, you're going to get a minimum of 14% savings just by booking directly through us, because we're not going to charge you that Airbnb fee. That same thing can happen on any property that the host has an independent website. So my recommendation is, if you want to use the platform to find a property that you want to stay at, once you find that property, then do a simple Google search to see if you can find that host offline and then communicate with that host. Look at the calendar as well. Is the calendar full? Because if it's not full, chances are that host might be more willing to negotiate. But for me, every single time someone finds me off platform and sends me a request to book that property directly, I'm always going to give them an additional discount. So for example, as I mentioned, you get that 14% savings from the fees, but I will probably give you an additional 10%. If you are a returning guest, you're going to get an additional 15%. You can ask me if there's any promotions going on, because oftentimes we do have those promotions, and we'll send you a code for those promotions. And then if you really do your research and you find me on Instagram and you subscribe to my Instagram channel, then you'll get an additional 20% off. So you can get up to 45% off if you do your research. So that's probably my suggestion. That's how I do it. When I travel, that's exactly what I do. I normally don't book on Airbnb. I usually look for the property on Airbnb. If it's something that I don't have, I'll look for it. Once I identify it, I'll try to locate the host, and then I'll negotiate directly with the host. Sometimes if it's a mom and pop operation, they're going to want you to book directly through Airbnb. But then I'll ask for them to send me a special offer, and oftentimes, especially if their calendar is empty, they'll send me that special offer. I'll still have to book through Airbnb, but it'll be at a discounted price. Okay, let's go right into sales. So for this week, our gross rental sales came in at $58,270.86. Our additional sales came in at $11,539.79. Our booking platform or booking source, I'm just going to give you the top three. I usually give you all of them, but they've been pretty much the same. For this week, we were number one at 72.3%. Airbnb came in number two at 18.4%. And then Marriott came in number three, and then the rest were, several percentages down the line. Okay, projects in progress. Okay, let me talk about the Georgia property. So the Georgia property, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already saw the pictures. We did all the painting on the inside. The furniture is there. We're doing the staging of the furniture. But more importantly, let's talk about what's going on the outside. We're a little bit behind because this should have been done in the beginning of February, but we started pruning our grapevines. Again, normally that should have been done in the beginning of February, but because we just got the property, I'm trying to hire the staff and the people that are running it, which we already did. I mentioned that in last week in review. So they're going to start pruning that this week. So that process is going to take place. I'm going to do some video of that process, but I'm going to post it on my Instagram. I mention it all the time. If you really want to know more about us, then follow me on Instagram, but more importantly, subscribe to Instagram. Next, the Miami property. We're still not live in the Miami property. We're still waiting on the city to give us the permit. Then the next thing I want to talk about is our IG. We have a new IG, which we create, or Instagram page that we created for Dream Vacations. So if you go Fernando at Dream Vacations, you'll find our new Instagram page. Here's what I want to do with that page. I'm going to be showing you guys the process on that Instagram page, so you can see what we do in terms of our social media marketing, and you'll get to see our growth on social media from that new page. Now, if you're new to Instagram, one thing you need to understand, Instagram currently is probably the hardest social media platform to grow on. So I don't anticipate the growth that I have or that I experienced on my PMI Instagram page, because that Instagram page I had for years now, and within that time frame, this is when Instagram was pretty easy to grow on Instagram, and we got that up to as high as 15,000 followers. So that page is still growing, but I anticipate the new Instagram page for Dream Vacations, that's not going to grow as fast, but I still want to show you the growth, the engagement. I'm going to include that during our following weekend reviews, so you can see some of the engagement, how many followers we acquired, etc. The same thing. I'm also going to do the same thing with the YouTube channel. If you haven't noticed, we kind of rebranded the YouTube channel, so now we're Dream Vacations and Vacation Rentals. My goal now is to take our short-term rental business to another level. We don't want to be just known for short-term rentals. We want to be known as a place where dreams get turned into reality as it relates to vacations, right? So that's our next project, or that's what we're going to be focusing on for the next couple of months. Team news, nothing to report there. Planning, some of the goals that we're planning on achieving in the next couple of months. As I mentioned, We're going to start the pruning process for our grapes. We already have our vending contract for the company that's going to be buying our grapes. But my goal is to, and this is obviously our first year, my goal is to see if I can create a partnership with some of these vendors so that we can marry the wines that produce with our grapes and our vacation rental properties. So we currently, in most of our properties, we currently put out as a gift to our guests a wine bottle. But hopefully after this harvest, that wine bottle is going to be from our grapes. Right? So I'm pretty excited about that, and hopefully that pans out. Next, let's talk about issues and challenges. Now, no issues as it relates to guests, but there's a couple of challenges that we're dealing with currently. As I mentioned, and if you follow my channel, you know that we had a lot of acquisitions December and January. With those acquisitions also comes new properties that we're managing for other people. And this is where some of the challenges come into place. 2 of those properties that we acquired came from another, a mom and pop operation. They managed their own short-term rentals, and now they're giving the operation side of the house to us. And here's, if you haven't discovered this, or if you're getting into the short-term rental game and you're going to be managing properties for other people, one of your challenges is going to be your owner's expectations. I highly recommend that even before you partner with someone else, that you set up those expectations early on. It's not always going to work because a lot of people only want to hear what they want to hear and not what we actually tell them. So for example, in this particular case, we have an owner that we brought on, and we're taking care of only the operation side of the house, meaning we kept their Airbnb account. So, and we signed on as a co-host. And the way we do it is, once we take over someone's account, we keep the owner as, the account belongs to the owner, but we set ourselves up as the primary host, and then they become the co-host. So they still have access to the account. They still can see what's going on with the account, but we are inheriting their problems, right? We're inheriting everything they did prior to us taking over. Now, when we take over, we often optimize and change stuff here and there. But what the owners need to understand is that it takes time for those updates and those changes to take effect. And the other thing that people need to understand is that oftentimes they're coming to us because they're not meeting their expectations in terms of occupancy rates and revenue, and they want us to fix that. But what people need to understand is that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, especially when we're taking over an account. The account's still the same. All we're doing is optimizing that account, and then now we're working with, or my staff is working on improving those reviews, improving those SEO keywords for you to show up on the first or second page of Airbnb. And that's the struggle. That's not that easy to do. And especially, it's not going to happen overnight. But here's the other thing that you need to express to your owners. And we express this, but yet they're not understanding. And we just have to continue to educate these owners. And that is when they're going in there to look at their property, right? It's a big mistake for you to constantly be going to Airbnb and bringing up your property as a traveler. I'm not talking about as a host. I'm talking about as a traveler. You need to understand that the system, the algorithm, the AI, for lack of a better word, that handles these listings are smart, right? every time you go on there, it picks up as an impression. And if you click on it, that's considered a click impression, right? Those are impressions and click rates. But when you don't book that property, it actually hurts that, right? So if you're managing property for other people, I highly encourage you to remind them not to go on Airbnb as a traveler to see their property. It hurts it. Secondly, the system understands if you click on a property and you don't book it, they're not going to show you that property again, because they understand that you looked at it multiple times and you didn't reserve it or didn't book it. So they're not going to continue to show you the same property. They're going to show you other properties. So when an owner calls you and tells you, I don't see my property on Airbnb, that is why, because Airbnb is not showing you that property, because they understand that you looked at it multiple times and didn't book it. So don't do that, right? And don't have family and friends look either, unless they're going to book. Your click impressions and your conversion rate matters as to how you rank on Airbnb. I don't know why that's difficult to understand, but for some people that's very difficult to understand. So you have to educate your owner. So that's a big challenge that you have when you're starting to manage for other people. In addition, when you have an owner that uses their property regularly, meaning they go on there and they block off the calendar because they're going to use it, that's one of the things that Airbnb looks at, and they don't like it, and they'll knock you down in searches as a result of that. Now, you have to understand Airbnb is in business to make money. If they don't think that your property is performing, and or if they don't think that you as the host are a serious host and are seriously looking to generate revenue, then they're not going to waste their precious time and effort and their available space to show your property to other people. So you're not going to show up on those valuable first and 2 pages. Now, I get it. Some of you guys bought that property to use it. Fine, no problem. Use your property because that's what you bought it for. But you need to realize that when you do that, you're hurting your revenue. So you can't have both. You can't have maximum revenue and have and show up on the first page when you're constantly blocking off dates. So just remember that and keep that in mind. All right, so those are challenges, issues, engagement. Again, this is new. I'm going to be focusing more on this later on, but let's talk about our sponsor, which is Dream Vacation. Today, I want to give you the latest offer from Dream Vacation, and it's on the icon, the Royal Caribbean icon of the seas.
Feel like I'm 10 feet tall. My turn, pass me the ball. Don't trip, no, I don't fall. That's right, I want it all. I keep on moving to the beat of my own drum. My squad be killing it, you know we get it done. Yeah, you know we got that. Yeah, you know we got that power. Yeah, you know we got that. Yeah, you know we got that power. I got the power. I got the power. We can do anything.
Vacation guest, like if you book with us, we're currently offering what's referred to as group space. And what group space is Royal Caribbean gave Dream Vacation a block of cabins for them to sell with the group rate. So you as an individual or you and your family can book a cruise on the icon under the group rate, even though you're not going as a group. And that is only because you're booking with Dream Vacations, right? It is a benefit that the cruise line gives Dream Vacation because of their presence in the vacation travel industry. So it is a big benefit. If you want to learn more about the sailing dates what the prices are, which I can tell you is 50% off, and if not more in some cases, then DM me the word icon, and then I'll send you the information for the cruise. Now, there's a caveat, right? The booking needs to happen before March 4th, and it's for sailings in 2025. I think the first sailing is February 8th, and it goes February, March, and April. The last sailing, I believe, is April 22nd. So anytime between February and April that you sail, you're going to get a huge discount on this beautiful icon of the sea. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, list them below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to Instagram, and you'll get a lot of these discounts. I'm going to be listing on Instagram today some other offers that are given by Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Norwegian Cruise Lines. Big discounts on those cruises, and they don't have that limitation that we have on the icon, where you have to book by the 4th. Love you guys. See you in the next one.